Yeah, but you should have went to the council meeting and say, no, we don't want that.
We become very apathetic, and that is one thing that Marianne Williamson is talking about, is how apathetic we've become, especially as a spiritual community.
Right.
Spiritual community, we do this thing where I'm just going to, be in peace and love and bliss, sitting in my house on my, cushion, meditating,
Right.
and praying for world peace and praying for, all these good things to happen, but I'm not really going to follow the news or take action or know what's going on around me or know what's going on in the world. I'm not going to attend the meetings. I'm not going to speak out against injustice. And I think we've become apathetic in that way as a spiritual community, that we need to pray and move our feet. And the move our feet has been compromised in the spiritual community.
Okay.
This idea of stepping forward, and that's really what I'm noticing with this Sedona movement against physical violence, is that people are moving their feet. They're doing something. They're taking action. They are calling the congressmen. They're writing to the police department. They are taking action.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just sitting around praying that this person's going to get what's coming to them,
Right. I started going to council meetings maybe 6 years ago, the monthly meeting, and saw what kind of inactivity we as people do. See how few of us show up there, and it just was mind-boggling. I never thought in my wildest dreams it was we were this lackadaisical, but we are.
Yeah, we are, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Is that we do need to take action. I don't know that I believe. I mean, I'm always changing in my beliefs, as all of us are, but I really don't know that just sitting in meditation and visualizing the ideal world is going to create it.
It's not going to do anything. You're just sitting there and visualizing. You're not doing anything.
Yeah, we do have to take some physical action in our world, and one thing, forgive me for keep mentioning Marianne, but she's kind of lit a fire under me and said some things that make sense to me, speaking to the apathy of our spiritual community. That the reason she said Donald Trump got into office is because a majority of the spiritual community didn't show up to vote, and that there might have been a whole lot more. And this is under the idea that actually the voting makes a difference. I know we
saw it didn't.
We could argue that, but
we saw it didn't. Twice now.
I think it gets pretty close, and that's the problem, don't you? That it's close.
No,
it wasn't.
Nah, it wasn't even close.
I wasn't following the numbers.
It wasn't even close. They took it because they wanted it. They wanted their guy in, and they got him. It happened with Bush too. They wanted their guy in, and they got him. Money runs this, not us, because we won't do anything at the grassroots level.
So that's the key.
That's the key
to the grassroots level.
Taking care of our community, and the people that are doing that speak to the other people one level up, and they are responsible. And that, because we see that our governor told them, we're going to still continue to be a safe haven for refugees. Despite what Trump was saying, he was talking about cutting us funds. So what? We'll pay for them out of our lottery money, whatever, but,
Well, and some states are actually talking about separating off from the United States and becoming their own.
That's what my point is.
Yeah.
We're being responsible. We just need more of that. And as that ripples through our society, maybe it'll start getting right. But right now, it's not because we're so fragmented. Like you were saying about your program where you're dealing with abuse, there should be a bigger, you know, that's a big problem. It should be something in place.
There should, and it does seem that at the level of government, even our local government, there's a lot of people closing their eyes thinking it's not a big deal. We don't want to waste our funds. We don't have the funds. And that's one thing that we were told. We don't have the funds to prosecute something like this. And actually, you could shoplift and
Yes.
walk out with a bottle of beer and end up in jail. But
And-
you can beat somebody, an inch of their life and walk.
Right.
As long as it's a man beating a woman.
Right. I know what you're saying. And it's even worse than you're saying because you said the funds.
Yeah.
It costs us $60,000 to keep him in prison because of stealing that one can of beer.
Right.
There's the funds.
Right.
They're right there. Stop doing that. Okay.
Yeah, that guy who stole the bottle of beer can get rehabilitated a lot easier.
Then $60,000 worth, yeah.
And then the man that's just
Right.
beat
Remember
a
in the
woman
old countries,
within an inch of her
you
life.
steal, you lose a finger or
Yeah.
a hand or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I bet he won't steal no more.
Right.
They had ways of taking care of stuff back in the day.
That didn't involve, like you say, $60,000 a year to keep somebody in prison.
Right, when that money can be helpful for kids that are being abused.
Some people say we should just put all the people that are incarcerated on an island
I've heard that.
and let them fend for themselves.
I've heard that, and that wouldn't work either. That's just like saying go kill each other.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is
Right.
saying. Yeah.
And that's barbaric, and I'm not truly suggesting that we kill them all in there, but I'm saying there has to be some alternative to what we're doing.
Right.
Because we're going broke
Right.
for this, and there's got to be more like put people on house arrest. Make them buy their own food. Let them work to earn their own keep.
Well, that's the thing is prisons could become better industries in which instead of people sitting around, I don't know exactly what they do. I know they do have work programs, but they could have industry for people that aren't seriously dangerous. The seriously dangerous ones, I could see how they probably need to go to the next life, but having an industry instead of a prison,
right?
in which they earn a salary, they pay for their own keep. If they have children at home, they can still send money home to the children.
That's it. Plus, we need bridges. We need
highways
built.
Exactly.
There's a whole lot of stuff there that they could be doing.
Right.
That's the manpower we need. We're already spending the money on them. Let them work.
Right. Right.
How do you rehabilitate somebody by keeping them in their room?
No.
It's just.
No.
I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I don't have any answers. I don't even know most of the questions, but the ones that I see, I don't like the answers.
Well, sometimes when we come up with answers, there's always a reason why it won't work. And that's what happens to me is I'm a real creative person. I come up with a lot of ideas, but then everybody's always shooting my ideas down. Well, that's not going to work because of this or because of that. It's like, okay. So, some things are going to work and some things aren't going to work.
Right.
And
they should be tried. Because it's the only way you know for sure.
Or expanded upon. Let's
Right.
brainstorm.
Right.
Let's come together and come up with ideas that can work. And one other thing is that even though our society has changed enormously since the 1900s,
Mm-hmm.
we're still afraid of change.
Of course.
We still like to get in our groove of how we do things,
Right.
especially on higher levels of corporation and government, and get stuck in these ways of doing things that are ineffective.
True. And I don't see any way out of that. I don't. We typically, as a people, we rally around a cause. Okay, if there's a war or a threat or a hurricane, we run in and help our neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care nothing about our neighbors any other time.
Right.
Okay, but
Right.
if we have something to rally around, we will rally, and so we need something to rally around. I think we had something when Obama ran. A lot of people came to that. And he had a simple little message. Yes, we can. He wasn't promising nothing. He just said, yes, we can. And people he got in there. So, if we have something to rally around, we got a shot at doing something. I'm thinking Truman years, and I'm thinking WPA. We built dams and highways and turnpikes, and World War II. We rallied there. Vietnam, we rallied there to stop it.
There was a lot of rallying there.
We stopped it. Okay, brought our folks back because going to serve the country doesn't mean I don't know because I see people coming back with legs missing, arms, traumatized. They're never going to be right after killing other people.
No, and the PTSD. I have a girlfriend whose son was in the war in Vietnam, and he had severe PTSD, in which when he would go into an episode, as you would call it, he would be right back in the trenches,
right,
fighting for his life. And unfortunately, anyone who was in the vicinity at the time that he would go into one of those would probably get demolished.
Okay.
So he killed a woman who was sleeping on a sofa and ended up in prison. And she went to battle for him because she said he never was given any help for his PTSD after coming back from the war. They just set him loose.
Right.
He needed help. He was mentally ill.
Right.
He needed help, but there wasn't help.
That's what I'm saying. We don't rehab people.
Right.
And I went through downtown LA. Have you been to LA lately?
No, I avoid it.
There's a section called the Garment District where they factories for clothes and blah, blah, blah. There are thousands of families living on the street. It is horrible. It is worse than those commercials you see on third world countries.
I've heard about
right around the corner, Hollywood. You people are insane. You got all that money and you're not. Ooh, that gets my panties in a bunch. Okay, good.
And then there's laws like you cannot live in your car. But rents are $2,000 a month,
right?
And if you work a common job, you might make $1,500, and you can't live in your car.
Right. And what's even worse, all these abandoned buildings, they could be fixed up. Put the people in there, rehab them, give them a new skill. Some of them are carpenters. They could do the rehab work to the building. Some of them were painters. They could do that, It's just, we don't have leadership. That's why I was saying we need it on the local level. We not politicians.
Yeah, that's true. I think there's a lot of people, and Marianne spoke to this too. There's a lot of people that, because of unfortunate circumstances, have a very difficult time being able to provide for themselves and their families. And there's this idea of people that maybe did get a whole lot better start in life and that are doing much better, that just say, well, you just need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. And she says, you know, in order to pick yourself up by the bootstraps, you have to have boots.
Right. Yep, that's easy to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people that don't have boots.
Right.
And so we have these judgments of those that are in extreme poverty, right, that they're just all drug addicts and alcoholics and losers, and
some of them are kids.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
And
you know, it's true that there are alcoholics, but you know, alcoholism and drug addiction, that's part of the problem too. It's caused from human disconnect. It's caused from emotional suppression. There's reasons that people are alcoholics and drug addicts. It's their way of trying to deal with their circumstances. And I'm not saying that that's effective or a good way to do it. It's just that we don't have enough compassion for why people have made the choices they have, or are in the situations that they're in, that so many people just feel unsupported.
So what would be your recommendation?
I don't know that I really, you know,
I would. You had ideas.
I said, I'd say that we need to build stronger communities of taking care of our own and having rehabilitation programs. But I know the next question is, so where's the money going to come from? But you're right. If a lot of people, including our children today, do not fit into the systems that we're trying to shove them into. Right. Like, kids don't always learn sitting at a desk for 10 hours. Right. With somebody regurgitating a bunch of, you know, or throwing a bunch of information and wanting them to regurgitate it, right? Right. That doesn't work for people. I mean, only a certain percentage of people learn effectively that way. Right. So what about all the kids that don't? And now they say, well, because the kids can't sit still, they're ADD. So then they're medicated.
Drug them.
Right. And maybe they're not supposed to sit still. They're kids. Right. Kids are supposed to have a lot of energy. Right. So we just have so much that we're trying to plug people into these systems. Well, a lot of adults don't work in these systems that we have either. True. Sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day. True. Or, you know, frying burgers one after another. This kind of stuff can be so debilitating for people. Right. It's that we've got to have more of a sense of purpose. Right. And more sophisticated systems and ways of doing things that aren't all, you know, this machine that we get plugged into, that we're expected to go through life in this machine. Right. That just isn't going to work for everybody. True. I hear you. Yeah.
Got any parting words? Do you?
Well, my parting word would be going back to, you know, we can't save the world, but we can start with our relationship with ourselves. Yes. And if we put the effort into our relationship with ourselves, into becoming the most authentic version of ourselves, that means to ask ourselves those questions, such as, how am I not being authentic? Right. If there's any part of my life I hate, what am I going to do about it? Right. To make it a part of my life that I love. So just being able to start with ourselves. And, you know, we're no good to anybody else if we're not good to ourselves. So we really do have to start by, you know, being our best version.
A better world, be a better you.
Exactly. And then we can be of help to others.
Okay. Let's end this. Yeah. Let's end this. Because this has been, what, at least 40 minutes or so?
Awesome.
Okay, let me turn it off. And